agent. They were trained in like makeshift cities like the United States would be. They talked only English. They didn't talk Russian. They didn't know Russian. And then they came over here and worked, and they had like these suitcases, which were a suitcase nuclear bomb. Thank God nothing ever happened where, they were used. But sometimes I wonder if the people being implanted are being conditioned for some reason out there that we can't even comprehend.
Well, the weird part was my actual filament in my finger dissolved. Okay, after 10 years, there's still bits of it that grow back. I don't know how it does. It actually grows like a fiber in your finger. I don't know how, and I can bite it off, but it's definitely synthetic. Like it's like I've taken pieces of it, and there's no, value to it. There's no relation to what it is. And nobody has an explanation where it is. There's no any material that's related to that on Earth. The weird part is that after that, I've still had, off and on for a couple of years, even a couple of years now, I wake up and I have actual pinhole needle marks in both my temples that would literally be, I guess, needles put right through my temples into my brain.
Oh, wow.
And then you see the temple marks, and I still have them here, that are covered up with skin now, but you can still feel where they were in, the implants or whatever they're pulling out or whatever they're putting into my brain. So it's just bizarre how I'd get headaches like that, and I'd feel them on both sides of my temples, and the marks are still there as holes. So it's just bizarre, but luckily nothing has happened, lately.
Oh, yeah. Now, James, you got 2-3 questions you want to ask Patrick about his abduction and UFO alien encounter?
Yeah, I sure do. Patrick, tell us about how you got that implant. Wasn't you at the lake and you reached in to get some refreshments?
My first show I did with you, I was describing, I was at a lake up north, guys that go up cottage partying all the time and going up north and, having a good time on weekends. And we were at this lake, and the weird part was, these white things were floating around in the water. I was like, I'd put my beer in, put my wine in to cool it off, or sticking in there to cool it, to make it cold, and all of a sudden some white thing I put my hand in to grab it, some white, little thing comes flying up and bites me right in the hand. And I go, and it disappeared. It wasn't like a fish, it's just like something weird floating around in the water. And ever since then, I had that in my hand. It went right deep into my finger. I was like, oh my God. The first day was hurting, and I felt like, well, what the hell was it? Like, maybe it was a piece of wood or something, you don't know, right? Whatever. And it just kept getting deeper and got infected, and I got really sick the next day. Like, I just felt like, really waterlogged or something. And I had that ever since, and then I went to the doctor, and it just kind of went away. But the weird part was, and I started getting all these ghosts and paranormal experiences right after that. So the after effect was, I was like getting more, almost like tracked. Just things were happening more intense from there on. And that was a good 10, 12 years ago at least. But, oh my God, whatever it was, this filament fish thing definitely injected something in my hand. And it took a long time to get rid of. And thank God, it just eventually dissolved. But I have photographs. I would have the X-rays. It was just affected my life. Everything around me started happening intensely.
Wow. Now, that night that happened, did you see the UFO that night? Was it in the lake or around the lake or above you, or did you even see it?
Well, I kind of heard it. We all heard it in the distance. We heard a buzzing in the air, but we couldn't visually see anything, but we could hear something like a drone ship would be coming, and it's weird because one of my friends got in her leg, and she was affected for like a while too, and it left like 3 marks, almost like a Neptune spear, those things in the Neptune god wear. It had looked like a spear of Neptune, of the god of the ocean. And it was so bizarre. She had this mark on her for 2 years. Never went away. It looked like literally a spear of Neptune, a water god. And it was like, oh my God, she had all kinds of shit happening to her too.
Oh, wow. Now, let me ask you, have you ever thought about getting regression done?
Well, yes and no, because I'm kind of scared of what would happen. I've had some regressions from other things that I have been through, and then, we all know that everybody, goes through certain lives, and you would die and come back. But so far, I've had a regression where I know I've had actually 7 lives in my lifetime from, what I remember, what came through. And one of the early regressions was interesting because apparently I was some kind of high priest god from Atlantis that was part of the alchemy of Atlantis. And I remember distinctly when I was Atlantis that all the land was going down and we were being attacked, and all these lights were going on, and all these shields of lights were happening, and the whole land face was going down Atlantis. That's what I remember as a regression. But there's so many other things that I remember, but I mean, it's just bizarre. I mean, we all have different, I think, attachments of our lives from other lives. So, again, I kind of I'm scared to find out what happened on those alien ships. I really do.
Right. Well, let me ask you this. You said you were abducted and taken through the ceiling or the wall. That night that they did that, did you see, were they grays or what did they look like?
All I remember is I ended up from the wall, and it was on a table, and it was all like solid steel. And everything was round. Like the lights were round, everything was round, and I looked at it with grays. But the weird part was before that happened, I have a cat, and cats will pick up energy and pick up things. And this cat basically something was in my room before this happened, in my bedroom, and something came in, and the thing was chattering around and running around. My cat was literally chasing. It looked like a gray. It looked like a little guy, about 4 feet tall with a big head and gray robes, and he was just being chased. My cat literally chased it right around, bang, right into the wall. The thing disappeared, and then after that, I got abducted. So it was just bizarre, and that's all I remember. It looked like hash, like what you would see in the movies. These grays with big heads. But there's other forms, and when I was on the table, all I remember was just there was so many bright lights, and all I saw was big heads. So I don't, it looked like giant balloons to me, but I mean, it was all silvery. But I really don't know how lucid the dream was. And then I just passed out. That's all I remember.
How many times do you think the aliens have abducted you in your life?
Well, I get visions, so I think for some reason, it comes to you when you have certain things. I've been now 14 times in different scenarios. And even when I live in my new house now, I felt like I've been abducted a couple times. Because I look in the mirror and things are all wavy, like how you look in the mirror or something, and then it looks like all water. I don't know if you ever experienced it. You get up and you go, "Oh my God, the whole mirror is turning into water." And I guess that's part of a residue of being abducted. But the whole mirror was just turning into water, liquid silver, going everywhere, dripping. And I'd see that after I got abducted. I wake up and I go, "Oh my God, there's all these red marks and red pin marks all over my temples on both sides." So it's just bizarre.
Oh, wow. You had mentioned something about Men in Black. Why was they following you, you think? Was there a reason that you might have surmised why they would follow you?
My dad was involved with very much classified stuff. He was involved in reverse energy and reverse technology, even in the 60s. And he was also part of building the hovercraft, the famous hovercraft that was built in Canada. And he was involved with reverse technology engines that were being developed in 1967 with the NASA. So if you document that, he had a lot of documentation, and he had a lot of blueprints. And the weird part about it was my dad would always go to work with a briefcase with the handcuffs around his briefcase. Oh, so he goes, "Well, I'm going to work." And I go, and they put all the stuff in there, and they all be classified. And then I always thought, well, that's the weirdest way of somebody going to work. He'd go like, "See you later, have a nice day," come home with a briefcase, and he'd be like escorted with a limo all the way, picked up by a limo, all in black men, black suits. and be driven home from work with a limo, with a briefcase, with the handcuffs on around. It was like a movie. It's like just bizarre.
Wow. Yeah, that is bizarre. Jeez. So, yeah, you must have been into some...
I thought that was a normal way of going to work. Back then when you're a kid, you don't know any better, but it's like just weird.
That is weird. He never discussed anything?
Well, even when he was dying, he never said anything. He said, like, I got to tell you something. But the only thing he really told me when he died at 84, okay? He lived a long life, and he had diabetes, problems. But the one, he would never want to disclose things. And the one thing he told me was, there's stuff in my briefcase. And he always left the briefcase, I got all his stuff after he died and things. And I found documentation, but I found something really weird was these tools. Now, I don't know what to describe them as. They look like tool implants that you would use an alien use an implant. So one had a really weird ball on it. It was like almost like a pliers, but then it had a ball in the end, right? A weird ball, an orange ball. And then I guess I realized, well, this is what aliens use to put things in your nose, right? It just looked like this thing that would fit up your nose and put an implant in. And there was another drill thing that was totally beyond anything that I've ever seen, like a dental drill, but it had a weird, round edge and something else with it. And then there was other things. It had these needles, but they had the points on them where you'd have liquid come out. And there was green liquid in the needles, like inside, as if you were embalming something. It's like, oh, my God, I never evaluated it. I should, but I still have it. And I have no clue what the hell it is, and look like something out of a sci-fi movie or from, Star Trek. And I don't know if it was ectoplasm or what the hell it was. Like it bubbles and it's green. And I still have it all locked up, and I'm going, oh, my God, I don't know what to do with this. Because nobody would believe me. It's like serious.
Interesting. Now, how about your mom? Did your dad ever tell anything to your mom, and your mom related to you about some of the things your dad did?
He'd always get upset and say, he comes home from work, doesn't talk about anything, because my dad would be very upset from after work. But no, he never really said anything. He was a very disclosed person. He always said he wanted to be a true Christian. I don't know what that meant, but he said he'd always say, "Well, I believe in God. I don't believe in aliens." So it really affected him, I think, his work. But my mom said, well, he never really talked about it. But my dad would wake up screaming, and a lot of times in his dreams, and get away! Don't come near me! Don't touch me with those things. So I would hear this, and it would freak me out because it wasn't from the war. Because I think maybe he was being part of a laboratory experiment. I don't know what happened in NASA. I really don't. But I mean, my dad had a lot of times stress, but he said he'd never want to talk about it. It was too scary for him to talk about. So I really wish I knew more, but I didn't, and that's all I remember.
And now, Patrick, can you hang around for about another 15 minutes after the break? We're going to go a 2-minute break.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, we'll be back with Patrick Cross right after this 2-minute break.